Hola ciudadanos, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué piensas tú de las teorías de conspiración? ¿Son así? ¿Son teorías? ¿Son ficción? ¿O es lo que quieren hacerte pensar? Bueno, aquí tenemos los datos de Catherine Austin Fitz. Catherine nació el 24 de diciembre de 1950, es una banquera de inversiones estadounidense y exfuncionaria pública que se desempeñó como directora general de Dillon Red and Company y durante la presidencia de George W. Bush como secretaria de Vivienda y Urbanismo de los Estados Unidos estuvo en desarrollo de vivienda. Ha escrito y comentado ampliamente sobre el tema del gasto público y ha denunciado varios casos de fraude gubernamental a gran escala. Bueno, esta no es cualquier persona y vamos a checar. Aquí está lo que estuvo trabajando en el gobierno de George H.W. Bush. Su información pues está disponible en internet.
I just published a huge study called The State of Our Currencies. And what I describe is the fact that for many decades the dollar has been the reserve currency. And the system is what I would describe as long in the tooth. And the central bankers are trying to bring in a new system, but it's not ready to go yet. And we're in a period of great change and uncertainty where the central bankers are trying to keep the dollar system going and accelerate. So they're trying to lengthen the dollar system, and then they're trying to accelerate bringing in the new system. And they have to bring in the new system without anybody quite realizing exactly what it is. So we've had a global reserve currency system, the dollar, and it needs to evolve and change, and it's long in the tooth. There's lots of unhappiness with the system, and the central bankers are trying to bring a new system. And to do it, they're trying to extend the old and accelerate the new. And it makes it a very chaotic thing since much of the new is being tested and tried and prototyped, and it involves many different industries. So I describe the new system as the end of currencies. So we're not bringing in a new currency, we're essentially bringing in a new transaction system that will be all digital and essentially end currencies as we know them. So what they're trying to do involves essentially all the money on the planet. So it's big, it's complicated, it's messy, and the challenge they have is how do you market a system that if people understood it, nobody would want. And of course, the way you do that is with a healthcare crisis. The way you do that is with a healthcare crisis. The way you do that is with a healthcare crisis.
And why is a healthcare crisis good for that?
Because generally, if a few people want to control the many, the question is how can you herd all the sheep into the slaughterhouse without them realizing and resisting? How can you herd all the sheep into the slaughterhouse without them realizing and resisting? So the perfect thing is invisible enemies. So we had the war on terrorism, with invisible terrorists, and then now a virus is perfect because it's invisible. You can't prove that it doesn't exist because it's invisible. So invisible enemies are always the preferred one, particularly if they scare people. If you can use fear and introduce significant fear, then people will need government to protect them from the invisible enemy. Then the second tactic, which is very effective, is divide and conquer. And so in the meantime, if you can use the media plays a very important role. If you can turn men and women against each other and black and white against each other. And one of the reasons you import a lot of immigrants into Europe is turn the general population against the immigrants, and then you need government to be in the middle. And so these are all Whether it's divide and tactic or invisible enemies, these are all ways to institute fear and get people to go along with things. And of course, the invisible virus allows you to do enormous control mechanisms. You can stop people from gathering, you can stop people from organizing, you can stop people from getting together and talking about what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. And if you digitize it with contract tracing, then you can control who's talking to whom. If you can get them to do all their work and education online, you can literally listen to everything they're saying. So you can institute extraordinary amounts of surveillance, all in the theory that we're protecting you from the invisible virus. It's very clever. Essentially, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get people to buy into a solution before they see where it's ultimately going to go. So you're talking about a transaction system that is no longer a currency, it's a control system. So it's like a credit at the company store. If every central bank comes out with a digital central bank currency, they have the ability to turn your money on and off. So if you don't behave, that's it. And of course, as we know, they want to combine this with transhumanism. In the 2016 election cycle, we saw the general population support candidates who represented populism in a variety of different ways. So Bernie Sanders was a populist relative to the other candidates. Donald Trump was a populist relative to the other candidates. And literally what the sort of global capital class realized was they had a problem that could be solved by destroying the independent income of small business and sole practitioners and people who had independent forms of income. So if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're a CPA and you have your own practice, you are generally going to support the populist candidates. And so the way to shut the populist candidates down is to shut off their income and support, which is you put Main Street out of business, and then there's nobody to finance a Bernie Sanders or a Donald Trump. There's nobody to support him.
Der Verlust von Arbeitsplätzen trifft natürlich die Mittelklasse stark. Das, haben Sie irgendwo geschrieben, kann ein Problem für die Demokratie werden.
Ja, weil die Mittelklasse ist der Träger der Demokratie. Und wenn wir die Mittelklasse aushöhlen, dann werden wir die sozialen Spannungen noch erhöhen, weil der Gewinn aus der 4. industriellen Revolution, wenn wir sie nicht in den Griff bekommen, politisch, geht dahin, dass diejenigen, die die unternehmerischen Ideen haben, die neuen Ideen, die Innovationsideen, die das Kapital haben, die werden profitieren, während diejenigen, die, sagen wir, mehr die Servicearbeiten leisten, werden irgendwie die Verlierer dieser Revolution sein.
Wie sieht der Bürojob der Zukunft aus?
Sicher werden Sie dort Automatisation vorfinden, Sie werden Roboter vorfinden. Ich glaube, der ganze administrative Bereich wird es wahrscheinlich in der heutigen Form gar nicht mehr geben.
Sie sprechen von der kreativen Zerstörung von Arbeitsplätzen. Was ist daran kreativ? Was meinen Sie?
Es wird sicher neue Arbeitsplätze geben. Wir werden Roboterreparierer brauchen, wir werden Drohnendispatcher brauchen und so weiter. Wir können diese neuen Berufe noch nicht alle voraussehen. Aber ich bin sehr optimistisch, dass es neue Möglichkeiten der Beschäftigung geben wird. Und vor allem, ich glaube, dass der Bereich des Sozialwesens, der Bereich des Gesundheitswesens in der Zukunft wesentlich mehr Arbeitskräfte relativ zur Gesamtbeschäftigung braucht.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing, it changes you. If you take genetic editing, right. Just as an example, it's you who are changed, and of course this has a big impact on your identity.
data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it. Now, in the past, many tyrants and governments wanted to do it, but nobody understood biology well enough, and nobody had enough computing power and data to hack millions of people. Neither the Gestapo nor the KGB could do it. But soon, at least some corporations and governments will be able to systematically hack all the people. Systematically hack all the people. And if indeed we succeed in hacking and engineering life, this will be not just the greatest revolution in the history of humanity. This will be the greatest revolution in biology since the very beginning of life 4 billion years ago. For 4 billion years, nothing fundamental changed. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design and the intelligent design of our clouds. The IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud, these are the new driving forces of evolution. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste. Surveillance. People could look back in 100 years and identify the coronavirus epidemic as the moment when a new regime of surveillance took over, especially surveillance under the skin. My brain, my body, my life, does it belong to me or to some corporation or to the government or perhaps to the human collective? My brain, my body, my life, does it belong to me or to some corporation or to the government or perhaps to the human collective? Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
Free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
Teorías de conspiración. Piénsalo.